There it is. It's live. Hey, everybody. What's happening?
Hey. There we go. There we go.
Yep.
All right. I'm going to like this. And, okay.
Hey, we got 2 people watching us. I think it's you and me. Yep.
Yeah, it probably is. Join us as we live stream.
Biz Brain Show episodes. And we have some good stuff this week.
The topics are fire.
Yeah.
Fire. Awesome. All right. Perfect.
Let's see. We'll try it out. Yeah. Okay, great. Now I can quit Twitter. Good.
Okay. Yeah. Let me get out of there. Oh, that's true, because I'm always the one.
Yeah.
That's okay. It makes me feel better that we have at least one person watching, even if it's me.
No, we're up to 5 now, man. It's totally fine.
It's
and
amazing.
I'm not it anymore. I quit Twitter.
That's pretty good.
I didn't quit Twitter for good. I just quit the app Twitter.
Yes,
X, whatever.
absolutely.
I guess the app is still called Twitter on my Mac. So
yeah, well, you type in x.com, it goes redirects to Twitter. So
well, the app, as I understand it, is still like they have not updated the app since in years on the Mac.
Oh,
and the reason, as it's been like prognosticated to me, but it holds water, is that the current restrictions over the privacy restrictions would mean they would have to disable a lot of their information gathering stuff in the Mac app to do any updates to it. So
I see. That makes sense.
Theoretically, that's why.
Yep. Okay, cool.
Yep.
All right.
We ready?
You start? We're ready.
I'm ready. Here we go. Yes. Business Brain, the show for entrepreneurs, episode 530 for Wednesday, March 6th, Day of the Dude 2024. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Business Brain, the show where we take a few ideas, we dissect them, we analyze them, we use them to tune our business brains so that each and every one of us can increase our ability to lead those charmed lives. Speaking of leading charmed lives, our sponsor at GoSquaredAway.com/contact. That's a much better URL to visit. GoSquaredAway.com/contact empowers highly educated military spouses to become your trusted remote executive assistants. We'll talk more in depth about that in a little bit. For now, here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And I'm still out here in California, Dave. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm comfortable. Shannon, I don't like that.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Comfort crisis?
I think so. I don't know. I mean, there's always things that I have. There's pressures. It's not that I'm comfortable. It's that I'm uncomfortable. And the issue, so maybe a little business therapy to start today's episode.
Sounds great.
When there have been times, I'm sure there will be times again in the future, I just haven't experienced them yet, where I have been either panicked or had a chip on my shoulder or something that drives me to really like get down to the grindstone and push the business forward, businesses forward. Pressure. Right. Whatever it is, pressure. But it could be like there's that chip on the shoulder. Sometimes it's like, well, I got to prove something to that person, right? You know, it's the ego, right? And other times it's like financial pressure or, you know, something that really just kind of instills a little bit of panic, that drive, whatever it is that makes it easy for me to just push harder than I normally do by default. And that state of being can last for months or even years. And then it sort of retreats a little bit. It doesn't mean that I, sit around and do nothing all day. I still do all my things.
No, it's a feeling. Right?
But it's that feeling isn't there. And I know that when I have that feeling, I am more productive in growing the business than I am when I don't have that feeling. And I've explained on this show before the willpower points or discipline points system idea that I have, where we all wake up with a certain number of willpower points, and you have to be careful what you spend them on because you only have the fixed amount. And once you've spent them, you can't double dip. That well is dry until the next day. And so the idea is to come up with a series of brain hacks that get all the things done and do the things that you need to do without by wanting to do them instead of using willpower to get them done, right?
You get to do them instead
you get to do them, correct.
Yeah.
And when I've been in those pressure, panic moments, whatever you want to call it, I wake up and it's like, oh man, I get to work on the things that grow the business. I get to do that stuff. And sometimes it can just be, the ego of being able to grow the business.
Yeah.
And then other times, like now, it's not that I don't want to grow the business. It's that I'm not the drive. The amount of drive wavers.
Yeah,
my guess is the amount of drive that I have now is probably higher than, let's say the average, but I don't even know what the heck that means.
I would definitely agree with that.
But it's still, I know that I'm capable of more, and I'm trying to figure out how to unlock that all the time at will, right? It's like you've told me before, you see the ego, isn't bad. It can be one's downfall if it rules you.
Sure.
But if you use it like a tool, it can be great. And I think this is related to that, like finding a way to turn that drive on and off and use it like a tool.
Yep.
There's a lot of, I don't know the magic answer to this yet, though.
The ego thing is learning how to ramp it up and down.
Exactly. Yeah.
You ramp it up because as entrepreneurs, it's often lonely, and you need to pump yourself up frequently and learn to pat yourself on the back and recognize your skills and the wins that you have.
Yep.
And ramp it down so you're not a jerk, and you can be humble, and you could lead through service and helping other people and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I would say what you're talking about is very common in people, I think, entrepreneurs that get to the point in life that we are, right?
Yes.
Had some success, built some wealth. My suggestion, if the bank account looks good, if your investments look good, stop looking at them. If you're, the other thing is, what is your next zero? Can you start at zero at again? Something you know nothing about, not a music thing, not whatever, something, and you probably went through it when, had other businesses that you started in the last few years. Like, I know nothing about this.
Oh yeah.
That's the challenge. I'm in when I sold Tech Restore and didn't know what to do, and all of a sudden there was no one around but me, I was like, what do I do? And I talked about it on this show. I said, okay, I'm going to start a business just using my phone and I'm going to get involved in social commerce. I don't know anything about this. I'm going to start at zero. And I was super nervous and had, anxiety. It's like, how do I do it? What do I even do? But that starting at zero, it is the challenge for me.
I'm thinking of, this is it. When my back's against the wall, like but if your back feels too much against the wall, like, and we each have a different, tipping point of this, but wherever that is, you can get to a point where you're, paralyzed, and that's not what you want.
No.
A little bit of that drive, like
Absolutely.
that hunger, it was like Steve Jobs loved to quote the words on the back of the Whole Earth catalog, right? That from Stuart Brand. Yeah. It said, "Stay hungry, stay foolish."
Exactly.
And that's to your point, right?
Yeah.
What's your zero? What don't you know? And go be hungry about that.
That's right. And I think it's also to try to identify your motivators. And this may sound kind of silly. We have a wonderful life. Like you, we've been grinding for decades to build this charmed life that we lead, right?
Yes.
And I do recognize that. But I also recognize that I'm still trying to impress my wife after 30 years.
Yeah.
I want her to be proud of me. I want her to see me working hard. And now a lot of that I've shifted to my kids. I want them to see me achieving something new. Like I've talked about on the show here, I'm trying to build something on the X platform, right? Trying to grow. I started at zero not too long ago and figuring this out. And I've discussed my growth on the show and different things. And I've been sharing it with my kids, and I always joke around. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be an influencer or whatever,
Yeah.
But I'm putting it out there, and I want to be sure they see me succeed. They're my big, they always say you shouldn't worry about what other people think. I totally worry about what other people think.
Yeah.
And I'd be the first to admit it. The people that mean the most to me, that's who I don't stress about it, but they're the most important people that I want to impress. And so those things are starting at zero. Don't look at your bank account and your investments if you're our age.
If they're good.
Hopefully
if you're looking for motivation, right? Yeah.
If they're not good, you should look at them every day because that'll motivate you to hustle. So you can take that advice if you're in your 20s or 30s and just getting going, and you want to look at it and go, man, I got to hustle. Well, that motivated the heck out of me when I was
of course.
But
of course.
Now I don't look at it now because I'm like, okay, it's just kind of got momentum. It's doing its thing. There's nothing I can do. I'm focusing on this. And it's also hard to give up something that's working. Like I built that social commerce business, and I should have given it up, a year ago or a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
But I kept on to it. I kept on to it because it made me feel good to ship something every day instead of putting the time in to build something that may take me a year to build, but it's going to have 5 or 6 years of runway. Where the social commerce business was on the way out. I was bored. I did it. I built this. I sold $3.7 million worth of stuff and did it with my phone and all this kind of. But I was like, okay, now what? So don't look at your bank. Find out who you want to impress. Give up something that's doesn't need you anymore, and start again at zero. That's my 4 tips. I
gotta find out if you take my insurance so that I can see if you qualify for me to just give you a copay for this. So I appreciate that. Yeah.
That's great.
All right, Business Brain listeners, let's dive into the world of entrepreneurial wizardry where your to-do list stretches longer than a magician's scarf. Ever feel like the little things are actually gremlins gnawing at your productivity? I know I do. Enter our sponsor, Squared Away, the Gandalf of your business journey, banishing chaos with a staff of remote executive assistants. These aren't just any assistants. They're highly educated military spouses with the kind of proactive magic that would make even Merlin take notes. Whether it's event planning, proofreading, or even booking a flight for your adventurous dog, Squared Away has got you covered. And yes, they've even tackled the elusive quest of finding the perfect puppeteer for that company retreat, because why not? Think you could lean on your Squared Away team for everything from navigating the treacherous waters of travel itineraries to deciphering the ancient scrolls of paperwork. And by ancient scrolls, of course, I mean anything that requires more than 2 steps to fill out. So if you're ready to delegate like a pro and finally have time to plan that virtual baby shower or, grow your business, Squared Away is your go-to. Contact Squared Away today to see how they can support your business. Just go to gosquaredaway.com/contact. That's gosquaredaway.com/contact. Magic wand not included, but definitely not needed. And our thanks to Squared Away for sponsoring this episode. All right. So you got anything on your mind? Now that we've processed what's on my mind, Shannon, what's on your mind?
I do have something on my mind. So we're talking about starting over at zero, which I'm in the process of doing right now, trying to build a following. I don't know anything about that. We talked about this 1,000 true fans concept on the show a bunch of times. And it's like, okay, I've never done that. So why don't I try to do that and also share my knowledge? I feel compelled to give back and to help other people that are getting started, because I would love to have somebody help me.
Yes.
And of course, I want to monetize it because it's a good measuring stick with if it's working or not. But when you're building a following and you're putting your name out there, there's some risk involved in it, which is fine. I like risk, but also
risk can be one of those drivers. Yeah.
But also like your personal, we were talking about ego, like, okay, let's say on Twitter, wherever you're building it, Instagram, if you're building this following, TikTok, whatever.
Yep.
You're going to have a lot of people that are going to come out and want to criticize you. talk bad about you, troll your, post, tell you you're an idiot or whatever of foul things. So as I was looking at this, I was like, man, some of these, when I first, I've probably been working on this since September.
Okay.
And some of those early comments that I got from people were like, oh, that kind of hurts. You take it internally. So I started looking around and trying to study people that had like hundreds of thousands of followers and, whatever, how do they deal with this and everything? And so I came across a book called The Alter Ego Effect by an author by the name of Todd Herman. And Todd was an advisor, like a coach with high-end athletes and stars and this kind of thing. And his concept here is that if you're going to be in the public light at any level, really, business, athlete, some kind of a performer, you should build an alter ego that protects your personal self from those types of criticisms that I just mentioned, but also protects you from going crazy with I'm so great or whatever. And I'll give you a couple examples. So one of the examples he mentions is Beyonce. When she's up on stage and everything else, and she's like, well, that's not me. That's Sasha Fierce. And she invented this character to protect her. And this guy breaks it down in this alter ego effect. One of his most famous clients is Kobe Bryant.
Okay. Yeah.
And Kobe was having this same problem, like feeling really vulnerable and trying things. And so they came up with this alter ego called the Black Mamba, the snake.
Sure.
And so he would just say, and there's some great interviews. If you go to, you'll link it, but the alteregoeffect.com, you can see some of the interviews and all this stuff. And there's Kobe saying, he's like, well, I go out there and I have nothing to fear because that's not Kobe Bryant. That's Black Mamba. And so by building this separation of a character, and one of the things I love too is Herman talks about, you think, oh, Clark Kent, well, his alter ego was Superman. No, it's the opposite.
It's the opposite. Yeah.
Superman, the alter ego was Clark, to protect himself. And it just, even in business, I think this could be very important because many times, like I'll lay it out here, like when I was younger, I actually wanted my business not to be where my friends saw it because I was worried if I failed, they would think I was a loser.
Right.
And I think that drove me into this kind of wholesale B2B, little bit gray, murky, business versus I'm going to build this huge retail or whatever. And I'm going to have all this exposure. I never had that. People always ask me, what do you do? Instead of, I saw your trucks and I saw your building. Right. Because that was way more vulnerable for me to risk.
Oh, no, I'm the same. I'm the same way. Yep. Yeah, I'd rather, I never built a business that my friends would use. I'm always surprised. I mean, after 25 years of the Mac Observer's existence, I'm less surprised now when people say, "Oh yeah, I know about that site." It's like, yeah, I know you do. Like, but everything else, and even that at the beginning was not built for people that I knew. Right. It was built for other people. Yeah.
And I think it kind of drove me. So I'm about halfway through the book. I'm really enjoying it. And I'm going to do this, is develop. And I think I would have been a better business person. And maybe even, I took a lot of risk. I have taken a lot of risk in my business career. And I still do it. But I probably, looking back, it's very easy to say this, of course, but maybe I would have felt less vulnerable if I had this kind of other alter ego sitting out here that was like, well, that's not me. That's whatever, and, you could pick, you could make it up. You can pick a character, you can do whatever. And, the author kind of walks you through developing this concept and why it's important. And, it helps you do more things than you otherwise would.
Yeah, see, I think this might be the answer to my question in the beginning of the show.
Could be. It's one more tool in your toolbox.
Right. Yes. Right. It's not like the end all be all, but
correct.
That this could be an answer, not the answer. But
and figuring out. So I'm going to do this like, today I've had my first post on X that's got over 1 million, views.
That's awesome.
and thousands of comments. It's a silly post.
Sure.
There's lots of people trying to tear me down in there.
Oh, yeah.
And I have gotten very comfortable with like, oh, that's whatever. This is just a character, and it's it's my thing, and I've got okay. What am I gonna? I don't know. I'm not even sure exactly what it is yet, but I know it's there.
Yeah,
and it's kind of shielding me from a lot of that those arrows that people want to shoot at people that are successful. And I'm going to be successful here. There is no doubt in my mind.
Yep.
Because I feel the energy, and I want to love to talk about that in our next show about how the energy works and how I think that's a good sign.
That sounds great.
But yeah, so anyway, alteregoeffect.com. Take a look, the book, Todd Herman. And I'm going to try to reach out to him once I get finished with the book. Who knows? Maybe we can get him to come on the show and talk about it.
That's great.
That's cool.
There's a great line in the opening song, a great lyric in the opening song of a musical called Hedwig and the Angry Inch. Very off the beaten path musical. But the song is called Tear Me Down, and the chorus of it ends with, "You want me, baby? I dare you. Try and tear me down."
That's right. That's right. And if you see the really very, very successful people, they don't care, Yeah, you're
now
right.
you can hear me.
Yes.
Came
Sorry
back muted.
that. Yeah,
No, that's okay. That's on me. Your my computer's audio likes to reset sometimes, and I haven't figured out why. Cool. I have figured out why. It's a bug that Apple has in the OS. So
I see.
Fun. Yeah,
got it.
Great.
Well, great.
Take
us home.
I'm taking us home, man. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's good. It's good stuff. Where is the? Oh, did this not start playing? Oh, interesting.
There we go.
So much
live entertainment, folks.
Live entertainment. Yepper. Thanks for hanging out with us, folks. Thank you for thank you for sending in all your stuff. It's been a while since we've read any of your comments and questions on the show. We will have some of that next week, I promise. Feedback@businessbrain.show. Check out our sponsors. GoSquaredAway.com/contact, and make sure you sign up for our newsletter at businessbrain.show. You can also send us feedback@businessbrain.show. We'll see you on Friday. Keep living that charmed life. All right.
Awesome.
Fucking audio.
Well, you're like, wait, and then wait, I can't hear you. Whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
So now we're in the middle of our first and second show, folks. So we're gonna prep for a few minutes, and then we're gonna jump in and record our Friday episode.
I think. Oh no, I kind of need to do this because otherwise I'll lose the stuff. Because I need to edit that audio, which I'm not going to do right now.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, go ahead. Oh yeah, that end there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a look and see.
But I am going to do this part of it. So
1.6 million on this post.
Wow. You're going to be at 2 million before we finish recording today.
I can't wait, man. That's good.
That's crazy.
I'm going to hit 2,000 followers. I'm at 1905 right now. So
wow.
It's insane. On X, it's like sometimes the weeks feel like a decade, but sometimes a decade happens in a week.
Yep.
It's crazy. Okay, so here.
All right. I know how that's going to work. Thankfully, it was just near the end.
Terrific.
Let me pull this in and do that. Oh, and I can put this
people here.
Too.
That's good. I see you, man.
Yeah.
Nice. That's a good show.
We'll put that there. Put this here. I'm almost ready.
Yeah, no problem. Sounds great. Sounds good. That is amazing.
I got to think about what this problem has existed for a while.
Where it just cuts out and then stops?
The audio resets. Yeah, and Logic recovers the least gracefully from this problem.
Oh.
And so it requires a complete reset of Logic, which is stupid. And that's what takes all the time. If Logic didn't care, I would have like a blip in my audio and everything would be totally fine.
Yeah, that's interesting. But Logic stops.
But Logic is like, no, that audio device went offline. I'm like, yeah, I know, and it's back now. So, like, come on around, buddy. But it doesn't, and so I have to. Tell
me. Look right below you see on our stage here that forecast success. That's just a comment.
A comment on Twitter. Yep.
Awesome. I know that guy. Yeah.
All right. Cool.
That's good. Yeah. Forecast success. It's a good
forecast success. I like that.
It's a good account. Yeah. That's awesome. At forecast success. Okay, I'm ready anytime you are.
I'm almost ready.
Sounds great.
Tear me. All right. I will put that there. Oh, that was a little bit of business therapy, wasn't it? Okay.
It was.
Great. I am therefore. I'll put this in the right spot.
Okay.
But yeah, this problem has been happening more frequently, so I got to figure out.
I thought you were hammered at me because I kept talking again.
Nope.
And all of a sudden you're like, hey.
No, that's fair. Yeah.
So I was like, oh wow, we got to come up with a better signal.
No, we don't. No, that was just like, sorry.
That's okay. Oh no, dude. We're building the airplane as we're flying it here.
Yeah, but this part of the airplane worked fine until the freaking manufacturer decided to, change some things. The worst part, they've had some audio issues in the last two versions of macOS.
Yeah.
And the one that exists now is different from the one that existed in the previous version. But the one that existed in the previous version, I isolated it all down. Like I went crazy making sure I couldn't fix it. Did I cause this doing all this? No. Okay, great. And so I reported it to Apple and they were like, well, do these other things. I'm like, yep. If you read my first thing, you'll see that I did those, but okay, fine. And so I went through and I did it and I pointed out to him, I'm like, this is in the OS and here's how I know it. Like I actually rolled back from one version of macOS to the prior version. Oh. This is not something that's doable. Yeah. But I like forced it to happen so that I could prove that nothing else changed other than the version of macOS and this problem came back. Right.
Yeah.
And I even got like some Apple engineers I know to like highlight this bug internally at Apple so the right people would see it.
Yeah.
They told me they gaslit me is essentially what they did. Yeah. Yes. And then they said this bug doesn't exist. I'm like, well, or they said this is the same behavior it's been in multiple versions of the OS. I'm like, but we already know I've proven that not to be true. So please don't say that, And then this version came out and that bug was gone. And so it's like, can you at least acknowledge that you fixed it?
They probably don't even know something just happened.
No, I guarantee you they know what it was and I guarantee you they fixed it because I've talked to like vendors of like audio hardware and software that once I told them, I'm like, hey, are you seeing this too? They're like, wait a minute. This isn't a problem with our stuff. Oh, this is Apple. And I'm like, I think so. Yeah. And they're like, oh my God. And so they all started reporting it to Apple. So but they won't acknowledge. It's like, what's the harm in saying, yes, thank you. You don't even have to say thank you. Yes, we agree that's a bug. We're working on it.
Hubris.
Right. That's the problem with Apple.
We know that company.
We know that company. Right.
We know that company well. Yeah.
Yep. All right. I'm ready. I'm done ranting. I'm ready to do this.
Let's go.
Yep.
5:31. Let's do it.
Here we go. Oh, wait, hang on. I got to do that again. Okay. Yeah, I see what happened. I know about that. Oh. Hang on. Yeah. There. That's the one. Okay. Whew. All right. We'll do this again.
Okay.
Business Brain, episode 531 for Casual Friday, March 8th, National Proofreading Day 2024. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Business Brain, the show where we take several ideas, we analyze, we dissect, we extract, we impart from them such that we can use them to tune our business brains each and every time we get together in order for each of us to keep living those charmed lives. Sponsors for this episode include GoSquaredAway.com/contact. Squared Away empowers highly educated military spouses to become your remote executive assistants. We'll talk more in depth about that in a bit. For now, here in Durham, New Hampshire on Casual Friday, I'm Dave Hamilton.
I love Friday, man. It's Shannon Jean from Lafayette, California. How's it going, man?
It goes. Do you take? I do this. It's not. This isn't a judgment thing. It's a curiosity thing. Are the weekends different for you now that you're an empty nester than the weekdays? Like, do you still mostly compartmentalize your work to the week and give yourself a different change of pace on the weekends?
Mostly,
yes,
but not all the time. But
right.
It really depends on. Like this week, when this show airs on Friday, I'll be up at our new river house that we're getting ready to, have guests and everything up there. So I will be working on that business and just work right through the weekend, right?
Sure.
That kind of thing. But if I'm home, then I'll say like, oh, it's Saturday. You know what? I'm going to work in the garage. I'm going to clean the garage out. I typically am not going to do that during the week. So I keep kind of a schedule like that.
Same. Yeah. I mean, there's some weeks where it changes. Like right before we left for Mexico on a Tuesday. And so I basically worked through the weekend before that, getting some things ready so that I could give myself a greater chance of detaching while we were in Mexico, that kind of thing. And it's fine.
It's managing your energy and how you apply it.
So talk to me more about this managing of the energy, would you?
That smooth segue. Yeah. So but before we get into our main topic today, I wanted to just mention this concept that, and the reason I'm mentioning it is because it just happened. I just had the flip switch or the switch flip when I'm starting a new business or a new project. I'm putting all of my energy into it. I'm just focused. Like, okay, I got to do this. I'm going to build. I'm going to grind. I've done this a number of times. Like I talked about on the show on Wednesday, I'm starting at zero again with something new. So I've got to put the energy in. And I've been doing that for months and months and months. And there becomes a time, hopefully, when I look back at things that I've been successful at, that energy switch, it goes in reverse. It flips.
Yeah.
And the project or the business that you're working on, or maybe even the people you're working with, they start pushing the energy back to you instead of requiring it that you're the driver all the time, which is not sustainable. If you're the one that has to just constantly put the energy in over and over and over and focus and provide the fuel for it.
Yeah.
In my experience, if you never start getting that energy back, I think you got to change something. You'd have to change who you're working with. You have to change the project. Maybe you have to change your business. And I really saw it last week as I was grinding to build this followers, trying to get to 1,000 followers. We talked last week about it.
Yeah,
man, it was a grind. And I have some groups that I'm involved in that we're helping each other. And I was like, everybody's hitting this, but me. What is the deal? And it's not that I was going to give up because I just don't do that. But
yeah.
I was pushing lots of energy into this, man. Like, nope, I'm going to do it. And commenting in, doing lots of stuff to help grow my account. And then Thursday, I posted a post that was talked about motivation for my family, yada, yada, yada. And it just took off. And it got like 90,000 posts or 90,000 views and tons of comments, very positive and all kinds of questions and things like that. It was it was a phenomenal experience.
And the energy came back. It was them giving you the energy back.
Yeah. And all of a sudden I was like, whoo. And of course, if you're not into what I'm doing, there's hardly anybody you can talk to because you're like, oh, big deal, whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But
nobody
I have
gets
a group
it.
of people that I'm involved with that we're growing together, which is I highly recommend you do if you're trying to do something like this.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, I felt the energy shift. I when I went back down to our house after working, I told my wife, I said, I can feel it. It's like a tingling in my fingertips.
Yes.
It's like when I sat back down, I didn't want to put my phone down because I kept reading these comments. And I'm like, wow, man.
It's the dopamine hit.
It's a dopamine hit. Yeah. But that energy transfer, and it's kept up all weekend long, and it's kept up today, and I feel it. I'm like, okay, it's giving it back now, which prompts me to even take more action. Now
it fuels you.
Yeah. It fuels it. Now I can build a little more. Now I can invest even a little more because I feel like it's working. And it's just a little bit. So I would love to hear, if anybody else feels that way, or, if that's a crazy thought, but feedback@businessbrain.show. If you're energized like that and you need that reverse at some point, talk with us.
All right, Business Brain listeners, picture this. You're knee-deep in tasks. Your to-do list is a wild beast, and every little thing feels like a tug-of-war with time itself. Sound familiar? Well, it's time for some backup. And not just any backup. I'm talking our sponsor, Squared Away. With their squad of remote executive assistants, all highly educated military spouses, Squared Away turns your chaotic juggle into a graceful ballet. They're the secret sauce for focusing on what truly matters, slicing through your tasks like a hot knife through butter. And let me tell you, the range of tasks they've taken on for entrepreneurs like us, it's like reading a magician's to-do list, from event planning to grant writing to more peculiar tasks like booking a flight for a dog or hunting down the perfect puppeteer for reasons. And yes, even making sure virtual baby showers go off without a hitch. Imagine leaning on your Squared Away team for everything from the labyrinth of paperwork to coordinating travel itineraries that don't make you want to pull your hair out. It's like having a personal wizard dedicated to making sure nothing falls through the cracks. So if you're ready to transform your business chaos into that charmed entrepreneurial life, it's time to get Squared Away. Contact Squared Away today to see how they can support your business. Just go to GoSquaredAway.com/contact. That's GoSquaredAway.com/contact. Let Squared Away be the secret weapon in your business arsenal. And our thanks to Squared Away for sponsoring this episode. All right. I was talking with a listener, a friend, about he's starting a new business. Let's put it this way. And it's not his first business, but it is the first business that he's starting where it is already his full-time gig. Okay. He's had side hustles before.
Sure. All right.
That's different, right? Than, relying on this thing to not just be the thing you can, have enough work to do, but eventually to drive an income. Yeah. And he's got a couple of partners with this. And he asked me a lot of questions, in fact, but one of them, the one that I want to focus on here, was how do you pay yourselves when you're just, when the only people working in the business are the three partners, and, income is ramping up, so you don't have this, steady, predictable, stable base where you can pay yourself salaries or whatever that is. Like, how do you do that? And I thought, what a topic to talk about here, because this is something I think many of us have had to solve. Many of us will have to solve either again or in the future. And I've done it a few different ways. The first thing to do is to figure out what each partner needs from the business. I've started businesses where everyone either is financially independent, or where everyone is financially independent from the business, whether that means they just have more money than they need, or they have an income stream from somewhere else, or something. And with that's treated a little differently than a business where one or more of the partners needs to draw income as soon as possible and as regularly as possible, right? Like that can happen. And either of these scenarios is okay. I would say you kind of have to go with the lowest common denominator. Makes it sound bad. It's not actually bad. But if one person in the business needs to take money out, then you need to do distributions for everybody at the same time equally, or you'll wind up in a scenario where one person's too much.
If you have the funds to do those distributions.
If you have, well, I want to come, let's put a pin in that. But the also, idea, go ahead.
And also, I think, how do you what the roles are. I mean, if somebody's coming in as an advisor, investor,
that's
or whatever,
different.
That's one thing, versus if you have an operating partner that's like, hey, I'm going to be there every day. So they are going to get a salary based on their operating of the business, right?
That's right. This is a business where all of the partners are operating partners.
Okay,
There's no silent partners, but you're right. With silent or non-active partners, that's different. Mm-hmm. And then you do need to kind of come up with things, a way of distributing that around.
Yeah.
But these are all active partners, actively working in the business together. And the percentages of ownership that they've come up with are percentages that all of them are comfortable with. And that's really all that matters in terms of ownership percentages. If everybody's on board, then everybody's on board. But he asked me, he said, how do you do this? I said, well, it depends on how much cash the business is bringing in. But when I've started a business, the way I've done it is a percentage of profits after what I always call the war chest, right? Every business needs a cushion. For whatever reason, I've always called it the war chest. How much money, what's the minimum amount of money we want to have in the bank so that we don't have to worry about putting money from our pockets back in the business for operating expenses, right? And that really is like the first milestone of success, if the business can pay for itself. And the way they're doing this business, it kind of automatically pays for itself, which is great. So their expenses are, other than some really minimal things, their expenses are very much tied to their income. So think of it as commission, but it's not, but that kind of thing. So great, no problem. Once you set whatever that minimum is, great. Then, pick a time period. Monthly is what I've always chosen, because it's not so frequent that it's a burden, but it's not infrequent. So every month on a specific day, that same day of the month, I've always done it where we go in and we take what we have in the bank, we subtract the previously agreed upon number of the minimum balance in the bank.
War chest, yep.
The war chest, yep. And whatever's left over, we distribute according to percentage ownership of the business. Again, as long as everybody's an active partner. If you had
sure.
That's generally how I've done it. With one business we had our minimum number of the war chest, and then we had a goal number of the war chest. We knew that we needed X to run the business, but really we wanted about 4 times X as the really comfortable cushion based on some possible future needs of things that we wanted to do. So what we would do is we would take, we set the minimum number. Great. When it came time the next month to do, the first month rather, to do the distribution, we subtracted, we did the math. There was the amount that we were going to split. And instead of it being 100% split amongst the 3 partners, it was 95% split amongst the 3 partners. We added 5% to the war chest. And then after adding 5% to the war chest, we increased the minimum number of the war chest. Right. And we knew what the ceiling was so that we weren't just going to increase it ad nauseum. But, and then once that was it, then that was the minimum. And we increased by 5% of whatever the leftover was the next month. And it didn't take us very long to get to that war chest number where we were like, oh, now we have everything we need. Now we can go to distributing 100%.
I will tell you from a different perspective, because you've never had inventory.
Fair.
And inventory changes everything, because it is the monster that can suck out all your cash.
Yep.
And if you're, depending upon what your margins are, you have to spend a certain amount. Now, if you're a manufacturer, you have to create a certain amount of product.
Yep.
But if you're a reseller, you have to buy a certain amount of product to resell to make those numbers work. So
okay.
If you're going to make 50% margin, just to keep things very simple, and you want to make $50,000, well, we got to buy $100,000 worth of product and sell it every month, right? Just very gross, really easy. So
wouldn't you buy $25,000 worth of product?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just doing the math.
If you're making,
if you want to make 50, if you want to,
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But whatever the numbers are, you figure it out.
Sure.
Math in public always scares me.
Yeah. But I got you.
Yeah. But at the end, it's never as clean as you want it to be. It's not like, oh, well, we just drive that number down to zero and at the end of the month we can see. It never is that way. Your inventory creeps, and maybe you sell 83% of it last month, or maybe you only sold 64% of it. So then you're stuck with, okay, we've got this product that's taking up cash. Your inventory can creep up and up and up and up, and it impacts your available cash. So then what do you do? So in those cases, I've just decided, okay, what's your salary requirement? At the end of the year, we're going to take out the same thing. What's your requirement? How do we deal with this? And when I was young, I didn't have much of a requirement because I was young. I didn't have, expenses like you build up over time.
Yes.
And so, you have your partners go, okay, guys, what do you want to take? Okay, we need a couple grand a month, whatever it is to get started. Or in the beginning, we can't take anything. Okay, we got to start building up some cash. But then, a year into
when you hit your war chest,
you got it. A year into it, okay, I want to take this. Like Dave, when you and I started deals on the web, the goal was to get to generate enough money to hire someone. That was our number one goal, so that we wouldn't have to do the day-to-day work, and we eventually did that. But at Mac Rescue, when we started that, my partner and I, we had young families. We needed to take a check. I needed to have it. So we were employees of the corporation, and we just got a salary. We both agreed on what our salary was going to be.
Yep.
And it wasn't, unless you were broke, it didn't hit at the end of the month like, wow. And don't get me wrong, there were times where you could not keep that check. You couldn't get paid because you had to make payroll. So there's definitely different ways to do it.
Yep.
The number one thing for me would be to keep it lean as possible.
Yes.
And live as frugally, is that a word? Frugal.
It is.
Be as frugally as you can.
Yeah.
And then when times are good, you can take out more.
Yeah.
And you have a great quarter, a great month, a great year, because you're also going to want to reward your employees, and maybe some smoking hot deal comes along.
And you want to take advantage of it.
And you need $1 million, and
Yep.
where are you going to get it? And maybe you can't borrow from the bank. So you need to have access to capital so you can go deep and hit hard on it. So it gets very complicated.
No, it's easier when you're starting, for sure. Yeah,
Yes.
Even with the scenario I described, that generally has lasted maybe 2 years, maybe.
Right.
But somewhere between 6 and 24 months. And then at that point, we even in the businesses that I described where we had the multi-tiered thing and all that, I think it was about the 1 year mark, maybe the 18-month mark. We were like, all right, great. Businesses, now we can predict what this business is doing. We set a salary for ourselves, which if you have an LLC is a guaranteed payment because you're not supposed to pay yourself as an employee. But the IRS doesn't really care in my experience. Talk to your accountant. And then we just paid ourselves the salary. And then once a quarter, we would evaluate our war chest and decide, do we have anything that, we want to spend this on, like that is what I'll call controlled growth or chosen growth, which is different from the, hey, a smoking hot deal appeared, we need to do this today. That's different. You still have control over it, but it's not planned growth, right? That's just like it fell into our lap. Do we want to take advantage of this or not? And we would, decide, all right, let's leave X in the bank. Great. That leaves Y as leftover. So let's distribute that like we used to, according to percentages, and we're done. And it worked out fine. Yeah.
And I would say that you either need to have a strong operating agreement that you've got this built into, or if you're not at the point yet, you're just starting out or in the planning stages, use the working agreement.
Yes.
That we've talked about here on the show. You can email feedback@businessbrain.show and we'll get you an updated copy of that. I was just working on it the other day. And that working agreement is great because it's also an exercise in working together with these partners.
Yeah.
Because believe me, I've had potential partners that we could not get this agreement figured out. And I would say, hey, you know what? That's kind of a harbinger of the way things might be. So let's not do this deal.
Let's just pull the plug on it before anybody gets too deep. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And the way I like to do it is to give them a blank one and you take a blank one. Ooh. And based on the way you've discussed everything, hey, it's going to be great. I mean, you're in the beginning, everything's sunshine and rainbows. But in the working agreement, it's like, what happens when things go wrong? And what is the distribution of profit?
Of funds. Yes.
Funds. All that stuff is in that working agreement that you can work through. It's not as formal as like an operating agreement.
No, but it can become the basis for your operating agreement.
It really does become the basis for that.
Yeah.
But it's a great exercise, and I would highly recommend it because I think you can solve a lot of these problems. Because the key is, if you haven't picked it up, it's flexibility. It's talking to someone, because someone may say, you know what, I'm at this stage and I don't need that monthly revenue, so I'll bank it. But I know you're growing and you need this and whatever. You've got a young family or you have this. You do it and I'll.
Well, I want to. That's the pin that we put in, and I want to leave that pin in until the next episode because I think this is there are some indicators, some litmus tests to run, and some very dangerous scenarios that you might be able to avoid by really digging in with your partners to be and finding out whether they are actually your partners to be or not. Yeah, so we will discuss that in the next episode.
Awesome.
For now, this is the way Business Brain rolls.
And we'd love to hear how you guys do it. How do you handle distribution of profits or salaries with your partners, all that stuff? Feedback@businessbrain.show, or let us know if you want a copy of the working agreement template. Dave and I have, played around with that for years and love to share it with you.
Absolutely. Feedback@businessbrain.show. Just like he said, make sure you check out gosquaredaway.com/contact. And do me a favor, would you? Please keep living that charmed life. We'll see you next week.
All right.
Yep.
Terrific. I'm going to end the stream.
You can end the stream. Thanks for hanging out. Yep.
Take care.